Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. You know what it is. All right, you guys, peep game. All right, man. I always thought this about George Steinbrenner, but basically Ken Griffey Jr. verified what I thought. And I want to talk about something that's very interesting with Ken Griffey Jr. And Ken Griffey Jr. basically said in an interview he never would have played for the Yankees. Now, keep in mind, a story just came out, that I did about Tory Hunter, where he basically was talking about how racist the city of Boston was. And Griffey Jr. basically just told the story of basically how he felt George Steinbrenner did him, when he was a little boy. How basically he allowed a player who was white to let his kid basically, I guess, be a ball boy and just play on the field or whatever the case may be. But then he said the Ken Griffey Jr. had to stay in the dugout, and he basically said, "Hey, I thought what he did was racist." Now we all know the patronizers gonna come here patronizing me, talking about, "Oh man, I don't believe George Steinbrenner is a racist, and why did George Steinbrenner sign and win those World Series? Why did he sign Reggie?" Reggie Jackson, if he was a racist. Okay. Y'all sure y'all want to go that direction? That's really easy to explain. Well, first of all, it don't matter who you got playing on your team as long as they help you win championships. But guess what? When you win the championships, people bring their asses to the ballpark. And when people bring their asses to the ballpark, they buy apparel, they buy food, and the ownership group makes money. George Steinbrenner died like a billionaire. The Yankees, if I'm not mistaken, is worth an astronomical amount of money. Most of their games are sold out, if not all of them. George Steinbrenner, yeah, the only color that he saw when it came to the field was green. Now, outside of the field, yeah, he saw black and white. Now, one of the reasons why I shied away from baseball, other than what happened with Barry Bonds and the San Francisco Giants in the World Series against the Los Angeles Angels, I started to see, hey, baseball, Major League Baseball is not going out of their way to market this game to the urban cities, to black people. If you look at baseball, it's the majority of baseball players now are, if they are what you want to call black, they may be Dominican or they may be Cuban, dark Cuban, Afro Cuban, Afro Dominican, whatever you want to call it, but not American born black. Now, if you look now, they started shying away from a lot of the little league programs, marketing little league to the urban cities. Baseball is not a black sport. You know, as the Reggie Jacksons and the Ken Griffey Jr. started to leave, you just look at it now. The closest thing to a superstar black athlete is Albert Pujols, and Albert Pujols is like Dominican, so I wouldn't exactly call him black. He what you call, well, he in the vicinity, but not exactly black. And then there's a couple of more. Major League Baseball does not have a marquee superstar black player. They don't. Now, has it been done on purpose? That's interesting. But that topic of discussion is gonna have to come up sooner than later. But y'all gotta understand, it's the same as football, same with the NBA. Most of these owners, if not all of them, are white. But I will say this, and I will say this. Even when you was like in high school, this is just real talk, and I remember Skip Bayless said this, and this is true. I do agree with Skip Bayless on this. Even even back in school, going as far as junior high and even more high school, baseball wasn't really considered the attention grabber, the chick catcher sport. Like where if a chick found out you played baseball, she wouldn't be on your helmet like she would you playing, football or basketball. We all know most of the time the basketball players got all the chicks. Now the football players got their attention too. Don't get that misconstrued. But if you was into basketball, chicks digged you. You was the popular guy, especially if you was good. So baseball has never been kind of marketed as the cool sport. The attention grabber. But baseball, the thing is with baseball, it's very fun to play personally. Now, sometimes watching it can go on too long. It can be sometimes unbearable. You sitting in a baseball stadium for 4.5, 5 hours. That can get a little unbearable at times to where you got to be like, okay, this went on long enough. Because there's no time limit in baseball where it is in football and basketball and soccer and even boxing. So baseball has never been the cool sport. The cool sport. But let me get back to. I digress. But I just wanted to give you a side story. But Ken Griffey Jr. He said he never forgot that, and he said he just saw what time it was with George Steinbrenner. Like I said, I gotta say this. I always thought George Steinbrenner was suspect. I could tell by his demeanor. Now I will say this about George Steinbrenner. In interviews, he was very careful what he said in interviews. But I never got a good vibe out of him. Never did. Now, in case you guys don't remember, there was something that happened with him and Dave Winfield. They eventually ended up squashing it, but he tried to destroy Dave Winfield's career. He eventually he tried to destroy Dave Winfield. I'll just say that much. Now I never really knew what it was all about, but I have an idea what it was all about. But he tried to ruin Dave Winfield's reputation, and he tried to destroy his career. And anytime when somebody like George Steinbrenner like do something to a brother, I'm just kind of like I'm always looking at him sideways. And then, like I said before, he, the Yankees had they run like in the 90s and stuff, but the 2000s, I think they won one championship in the 2000s, but I think they had most of their success in the late 90s and stuff, the early days of Jeter and all that stuff, but remember a lot of people accuse George Steinbrenner of basically buying championships, and it was so funny. I'm glad I almost said Jason Whitlock. I'm so glad Jason Giambi did not win one World Series as a New York Yankee. I was so glad. But yeah, man, it don't surprise me what Ken Griffey said. But the funny part about Ken Griffey, he's pretty much said George Steinbrenner was a racist, but he went and played for and ironically he got traded to the Cincinnati Reds, who was owned by a documented, well-known racist in Mars Schott. But the funny thing was Mars Schott sold the team in 1999, and Ken Griffey was traded to the Reds in the 2000 season. And that was crazy, because when I first heard this story, and I was like, well, you went to go play for the Cincinnati Reds. Everybody knows Mars Schott was a blatant racist. Blatant racist. Okay. But that's kind of funny. He still, you know, went and played for them because he could have said, "Hey, I don't want to play for the Reds because the owner is a blatant racist." But at the end of the day, it do make his credibility a little bit better because he got traded in 2000 after Marshot sold the team. So let me know what you think. This your boy Town Biz. I'm out.